Censorship is extremely heavy today. But we're going to start with receipts. You know, I always provide you guys receipts. If you look in the description of the video, you'll find receipts for everything I'm saying. I don't fuck around. There's no reason to lie. There's no reason to make anything up. You know, just look up Matitza Bapay and think, why the fuck would anybody need to make anything up if Matitza Bapay exists? It's the worst. I mean, I don't. By all means, tell me something worse than Matitza Bapay. I mean, other than the fact it only happens to their kids, which should be something I'm okay with, but apparently I care more about their children than they do. And if you want to double down, go look in the description at the Israel Hayom, Hayom, article titled Bottom of Darkness that details the ritual sexual abuse that's everywhere. The ritualistic sexual abuse that is everywhere in Israel. It's shocking. It's just shocking how prominent it is and the excuses given. Well, you know, the abuse is so...
Of a documentary that was just suggested to me, going to be filled with propaganda that you are going to just soak right up. Look at
The
that.
fate of the lost tribes, the history of exile, lost tribes, and the end of Jewish rule in ancient Israel.
Yep. I knew you'd appreciate that one. I didn't want to forget.
Appreciate it. While you're stealing. But what we're going to look at first is Naftali Bennett, Israeli Prime Minister, talking to Israel Hayom, talking to the Israel National News.com about how they control Wikipedia. Shouldn't leave any doubt. Watch.
Moetzet Yesh, in conjunction with My Israel, arranged Instruction Day for Wiki editors. The goal of the day is to teach people how to edit in Wikipedia, which is the #1 source of information today in the world. As a way of example, if someone searches the Gaza flotilla, we want to be there. We want to be the guys who influence what is written there, how it's written, and to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature.
Hear that? Balanced and Zionist in nature. He wasn't saying we want to ensure that the things on Wikipedia have a paint Jewish people in a nice light, a fair light, equality. And that wasn't the statement made. The statement was very specific, that everything in Wikipedia is balanced and Zionist in nature. So, when I look up Zionism on Wikipedia, this is what Israel wants us to know about it. It might not be true, but it's the truth they want us to have. And I know there's a lot of dumb people that think anybody can just edit Wikipedia. You can't. Even on pages that aren't all locked up like this one, the ones that give you the illusion of editing. You know what? Let me just play this back for you. Let me play the second part of this for you. Because we have the Naftali Bennett part. And forever I skipped over
Instruction Day for Wiki editors.
an instruction day for wiki editors. Wikipedia didn't know how to edit their own stuff. Back in 2010, he's about to acknowledge it, they were the #1 source of information in the world, and yet they still didn't know how to edit. They needed Israel to come explain to them how to edit. Does that make sense?
The goal of the day is to teach people how to edit in Wikipedia, which is the #1 source of information today in the world.
To teach people how to edit in Wikipedia. The people at Wikipedia just didn't know what they were doing.
How it's written and to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature.
Okay. So the Gaza flotilla is literally like the same thing is happening now, except this was the one in 2010 that just happens to be the birthplace of Ken O'Keefe. The Ken O'Keefe mythos starts with the Gaza flotilla back in 2010. Thing is, I actually, based on his suggestion, looked up the Gaza flotilla on Wikipedia to see,
Alex remembered she's picking me up at 10. She doesn't have a lot of time. She has appointments.
to see,
The flotilla.
right, the Gaza flotilla to, it was a 2010 version. Oh, I looked it up to see exactly what he told me to look up. He said, as an example, for example, I'm going to look up the Gaza flotilla. Looked it up. And it's basically, in 2010, about 6 or 7, 8 ships coming from France was trying to bring aid to the Gaza Strip. Trying to override the Israeli blockade that's been there for a lot longer than people realize. This didn't start October 7th, 2023, in the false flag where no Israelis were killed or taken hostage. Because October 7th is straight up bullshit. But if you look it up, Israel, illegally, all of this is illegal. I don't think I should have to keep saying it, but I probably will. But between 3 and 4 in the morning, because that's what you do when you're doing good things, right? When everything's on the up and up, you surprise the flotilla by showing up at 3 or 4 in the morning with, under attack. And on the ship that Ken O'Keefe was on, because he's such a badass, he decided to fight back. And according to only Israel, one Israeli soldier was killed and several others were injured. But nine out of the 11 passengers on that one ship were killed. The 2 that got away, one of which just happened to be Ken O'Keefe. Right? But the 9 that were killed, of the 9 that were killed, 6 were killed execution style, meaning they were on their knees and they were shot right between the eyes. And when it all went to court, or at least, there was a stink about it. I don't know if it went to court, or per se, but Israel was able to be absolved of everything because they said they had the right to defend themselves. If the people on the flotilla would have just given in like they were supposed to, then they wouldn't have had to be shot. Killed, 9 of them, 9 of 11 killed, 6 of which execution style. But because they fought back, that gave Israel the right to defend itself. And so there was no charges or anything. It's pretty shocking when you look at it. But he said, when somebody looks up the Gaza flotilla, we want to be there. We want to be the guys that influence what is written, how it's written, and to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature. So this is the second person. This is
to learn more about how
Miriam Schwab.
as Israelis.
Miriam Schwab is Very powerful. I'm not really sure, like, what her true role is. She's known as a web developer, but that could be anything. But she is also here speaking.
As Jews can defend
Listen to what
written
she
there,
says.
how it's written, and to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature.
I came here to learn more about how we as Israelis and as Jews can defend Israel online, on the internet, and particularly in Wikipedia in this case. Wikipedia is...
She's learning how they can defend Israel and Jews online, particularly in Wikipedia. They need to be defended because they're being attacked. If you expose them for what they've done, if you don't talk about things with that Zionist spin on it, you're attacking them, so they need to defend.
A bit of a complex system, and it's sometimes hard to figure out the rules. I personally tried
Sometimes
to
hard
edit
to figure out the rules.
in Wikipedia that were against Israel, small things, and my changes were erased or undone.
Do you see that? She's saying, I found some things I didn't like, so I made changes, and then my changes erased. Why were my changes erased? I said it, so that must make it true. Head around why her changes were removed.
And I didn't understand why. And I think that this kind of knowledge is important for anyone who wants to be active in defending Israel on the internet.
She didn't understand why. I guarantee she doesn't address why. She's not going to say, you know, my changes weren't upheld because they weren't true. There was no backing for it. She's going to make it sound like she was just a victim here.
So that we can go and we can see the information and we can say this isn't quite right. It's showing one side of the story, and
I love how they always say that too. You're only seeing one side of the story. You're only seeing one side of the story. They literally say this shit for everything. Like if you only know the one side of the Matitza Bapé story is gross. But if you just knew their perspective, and you know, Wikipedia, it's not like they own Wikipedia or anything. So this notion of only getting one side of the story, it's such bullshit.
power and the right to change that.
And then the thing is too, again, she's saying like she should have the right to change it. If she doesn't like what she sees, she should have the right to change it. Nobody should have that right against Israel, but Israelis and Jews should have that right in everything. Everything they do should be completely upheld, and it's them.
In general, it's so important for us to be online, working to defend ourselves and to prove to the world and to ourselves that we are just and we are right. And because right now, if you look...
It's up to them to prove that they are just and they are right and defend themselves. Have you ever seen one of them come on here in defense of what they believe in? Have you ever seen one of them come on here and defend Israel or defend Judaism or any? Have you ever seen in media anywhere where they have some piece of shit Israeli being interviewed, and you know that chick from the Turks, Young Turks, what's her name? She's probably the loudest Israeli critic there is. She's amazing. I don't know why I don't know her name. Morning, Karen. But show me something where even some piece of shit like Ben Shapiro actually says something that matters. Actually defends it in a way where you go, oh, well, you know what? That actually kind of makes sense. I get why this would happen. Okay, no, that makes sense. I've never seen a Jew do anything even close. Anna's Kasparian. Yeah, she's great. She is fucking amazing. But, you know, at the end of the day, she's given her platform so she can be that person. You know, and I'm pretty sure she has, you know, some restrictions on things that she's allowed to say and not allowed to say. You know, I still don't hear anybody else calling for an elimination of this disgusting cult and asking, like, what is the good part? What is the benefit? I don't care how traditional it may be. You know, it used to be tradition to have slaves, right? Used to be tradition for us to wipe with our hand. Well, when we got past that, when we had technology and resources and means that made our situation better, guess what? We stopped doing it. Look at these dumb fucking comments. It's fucking great. It's great. And it's safe to assume that the commenters here are nothing but piece of shit Israelis and Jews. And so, again, even if they're not, even if they're just, show me somebody that's actually addressing what's being said. Show me somebody that's going to, you know, explain why there's not a Jewish conspiracy, or if there is, it's okay because. You're not going to see anything. Mossad, you can't even spell Mossad right. So dumb. Good cop, bad cop scenario. Yeah, that's what it seems like.
Online, if you do searches for certain terms related to Israel, it's just filled with anti-Semitism, anti-Zionism, and garbage. And
Anti-Semitism, anti-Zionism, and garbage. If you look up anything with it, why? Why doesn't anybody ever talk about why? If Israel is so good, why is there so much hatred for them? These are questions that never ever get asked. Why? Why does everybody hate you so much? Is there a reason? Have you earned that hate? But of course, that's never talked about. You can't talk about that shit.
there's not enough of us out there working to counteract that and make sure that the other side of the story, our side of the story, and our...
What is the other side of the story? I know when I read what they want me to read about shit like Zionism, if anything, it's shocking because it's like, this is right here on Wikipedia. How is anybody denying it? You know, she just said what a bad thing anti-Zionism is, and we're going to look up Zionism. And you tell me that after we look it up, how it's just this harmless, it's just a little club that everybody's involved in. Merino class rule, and like that, no fingers off your keyboards and on your skateboards.
side of the story is getting the right coverage.
The right side of the story. Their side's the right side.
Initiatives like that to educate and promote defense of Israel online are extremely important, and I hope we'll see more of this in the future.
Like, just nothing. She just says nothing of value other than, you know, we don't like what you say about us. And we should have the right to control what you say. If we don't like it, it should be gone. It's just wild, man. So, we bring up Zionism. And like I said before, the page is completely locked. So the excuse that anybody can edit Wikipedia is out the window. And we know that they control this. So we know who has the original edit. You know, what are we supposedly reading? So, because it's not like some Goyim, some Gentile wrote this. This is Israeli controlled. So, Zionism is an ethno-cultural nationalist movement that just emerged in the late 19th century Europe to establish and support a Jewish homeland through the colonization of Palestine. Wait, I thought it was a temporary occupation. It's supposed to be a temporary occupation. Colonization is what they say they're not doing. And colonization is eliminating the people that are already there. That's how the United States exists, at least according to the narrative we're given. And how do you know we're not given that Native American genocide narrative that we end up being, proud of? We're proud Americans. We're so proud. America's the best, yada, yada, yada. They literally have us, through our American patriotism, celebrating genocide. Holy shit. It just dawned on me. Settlers sound pretty freaking temporary to me. Yeah, no shit. Do you not see what I just sort of uncovered here? It's just like the Bible being written to facilitate the environment we live in today, where Jews are given unfair advantages and, favor without any sort of explanation or understanding as to why, other than, that's just biblical. It's just the way it is. It's, if you say anything bad about it, you're going to go to hell. You're going against Jesus. You don't think that's coincidental? There it is. Popcorn, motherfucker. You don't think it's coincidental that everything in the Bible is all about making regular Goyim Gentiles accept the idea of Jewish supremacy? Your Bible is a Jewish fairy tale. All of the characters are Jewish. The narratives are all Jewish. They literally talk about the Gentiles as a separate group of people several times, but it's never us Gentiles, it's those Gentiles. Do you ever notice that? I call that kettling. It's funny how they came up with a new thing last night, and now they're all saying it. They all just happen to be saying it. They're not all attached. These are all just random people around the world, non-Jews, non-Israelis, who just happen to be on my feed, even though they're here every day. They just happen to be here, and they all happen to be using the same nonsense code words. Do you guys see it? Do you guys see how they just all keep saying the same shit? What do you think the chances are that they would all just happen to come up with this same thing overnight? Isn't that amazing? And instead of talking about what I'm talking about, they're like, stop talking about what you're talking about. Talk about this instead. Talk about this instead. There's no conspiracy. No, you're crazy. You're wrong. You're a psychopath. You're a schizophrenic. You need your meds. You're just yapping. You're a crackhead. You're all these things. Talk about this thing instead. Here, talk about this. Talk about this other thing. Oh, this other thing is really good. Don't talk about this thing though. You think that's just coincidence, huh? I know you do, Karen. I know you're like, that's coincidence. Right? They're so stupid they don't even realize they do it, right? And so at this point, they're probably like, oh shit, yeah, maybe that is a little more obvious than we meant it to be. But at the same time, they don't care. They can hold my feed down to 5, 6, 10 people. They don't give a shit if something is exposed or anything. They know it just doesn't matter. You guys see the video, the CGI video Israel put out? where they made a fake Charlie Kirk talking about how grateful he was to Israel and how much he supports Israel and, you know, unified Israel and the United. Did you guys see that shit? Karen just got booted. What a surprise. What a surprise. Did you see that video yet, Karen? Charlie Kirk is an angel. He's an angel. It's fucking creepy, man. That they would think that that was a good idea. Right? That they would put that shit out. Like, talk about a tasteless, you know. Let's just, fingers crossed, say Netanyahu was finally taken out. Finally, somebody did the world a favor and took out Netanyahu. Your message was retracted, Karen. Yeah. Oh, I'm super irritated. What kind of stupid ass nonsense is it? Like, seriously, the fact that you guys have to blow each other so hard in order to make yourselves feel better, it really is shocking. If anybody was really bothering me that much, I'd just block them. The fact that I don't block them shows you that nothing they say affects anything in a negative. Every single comment that isn't like, holy shit, we need to eliminate this fucking genocidal pedophile regime, is in support of it. And we all know that these are just the same fucking, let's see. These are just the same, you know, dumbass fucking Team Jorge, act.il. This is inbred Israeli bullshit. You know what I was also wondering? How come in the deposition where the judge is addressing the supposed shooter, he calls him Charlie Kirk? How come the judge doesn't call him Charles, whatever his name is, Kirk? Don't you think that's kind of strange? Oh, really? It's not going to show up? Authorities reveal new details about Charlie Kirk shooting. Sure they do. It's crazy how much this is being talked about. It's just fucking crazy. And remember, the fact that Israel hasn't turned its back on Charlie Kirk yet, that should tell you something, man. Charlie supposedly was very, you know, had changed his mind and was now anti-Israel and blah, blah, blah. Well, then why is he getting the big old Israeli blowjob? Why didn't they immediately start calling him an anti-Semite and, you know, cancel him? That's what they do. That's how they operate. I can't believe I can't find that video. That's pretty fucking crazy. Here, I'll show you. I can show you. Four views. Seems to be. Where's your phone? I'll get it. Wait, you're brushing your teeth? We don't do that.
Never.
We don't brush our teeth.
Go.
I think Cruz needs to be taken out. He's a piece of shit. Cruz is one of the worst. Look at this.
AI to put words in a dead man's mouth for their own propaganda.
Don't worry about me. I'm in a better place now. But America and Israel, from this day on, will never be the same. This is the wake-up call. They tried to shut me up. They couldn't stand a voice that didn't sound like theirs. And that's exactly why we have to fight. We exposed the lie. I spoke the truth, and they hated every second of it. I know you guys are hurting. It feels like you lost me. You didn't. You can't kill an idea. You can't murder faith. Spirit doesn't break. They mocked me. I kept going. Tried to silence me. I spoke louder. They warned me. No way. Truth's worth the price every single time. America was built on faith, on freedom, on family. Same with Israel. Standing tall. Fighting
Same
back,
with
never
Israel.
backing down. That's our bond. That's our story. Here's the thing. Those who tried to scare me only made me stronger. Those who tried to silence me proved I was right. So I'm asking you,
See this?
don't go quiet.
Look at this.
Don't bend. Don't give in.
Israel made
America
this.
needs you. Israel needs you. And when people remember me, let it be for courage, for faith, for hope. Because this wasn't the end.
Pretty
This was
dope.
the opening shot of a change that's coming, and it's going to be for the better.
That is an evil thing to do.
That's insane. That is just fucking insane. Dopey, what's going on? Yep, I smoke meth. Yeah, that's what it is. Just tons and tons of meth.
Isn't it like crack where you need a torch?
You need more than just a pretty bowl with some what looks like weed in it.
I have no idea.
Yeah, you do. You know all about it, meth queen. Is the church LDS. Anyone that follows Charlie will reject that video as fake. This person just said, anyone that follows Charlie will reject that video as fake. Yeah, dumbass, of course it's fake. They don't have a video of Charlie's angel. Charlie's angel. They don't have a video of Charlie's angel talking. Like, the angel didn't come down. But see, again, Charlie was supposedly turning on Israel. And if Charlie was turning on Israel, Israel would have immediately called him anti-Semitic and all that. If it wasn't part of the script, if Charlie wasn't saying what he was supposed to say when he brought up those Israel things, then they would have absolutely turned on him. Not much. Another morning, coming to gain some know what's going on over there. Yeah, well. It's fucking crazy that they would think this is okay. Right? This is who we're dealing with. So, we're talking about Zionism. Listen to this. They don't even hide this, sweetheart. Zionism is an ethno-cultural nationalist movement that emerged in the late 19th century Europe to establish and support a Jewish homeland through the colonization of Palestine. Colonization,
Colonizing it.
does that sound like temporary?
Watering it down.
No, that's exactly what colonization is. Colonization is when you go someplace think about this. I thought about this today. They've been training us to accept Israel, like how the Bible was written so that people today would obviously accept everything that's going. And Jews are superior. Jews are this. Jews are that. So think about it from that perspective. We've been told the Native American genocide story our whole lives, which then we celebrate at the end of the day, right? We celebrate the fact that whites came over and genocided the people that were here, And now America's the best, the land of the free. You're going to die for the American flag and all these other things. That's exactly what Israel is. They taught us to accept genocide or colonization through genocide with our own pride. And now we're, they're using it against us. Give me some of that. I mean, that's just wild when you actually put it together. When you actually realize, like, they've been playing the long game. They couldn't just do it. There would have been too much resistance. But if they get us to make it so it's like it's our thing, we're fighting for our own thing. Israel is the United States, and the United States is Israel's friend. That's how we're supposed to think about things. And I've been denying the Native American genocide for a long time because it just never made sense to me. And now I see why it was pushed on us. Why that whole narrative was created to begin with. People just don't understand. The cowboys and Indians narrative and shit, this all goes back to all the same times. Right around the 18 when, sweetheart? 1880s, right around the 1880s, that whole cowboys and Indians narrative started popping up. And they started going around and taking the pictures and creating this narrative. And the narrative doesn't fit the historical record. It doesn't make any sense as to why English-style castles have been here for much longer than they're supposed to have been. And the thing is, they've tricked you. Like when it comes to black people, right? The people that'll get mad at me faster than anyone if I say I don't believe the slavery narrative is black people. Black people want to have been slaves.
No, they just don't want you to discredit their ancestors and the struggle they went through.
They want to have been slaves. It's not like that's the only narrative it could be. But to say, okay, you're right. Hundreds of thousands of black people were just complicit slaves for hundreds of years. One white family can own hundreds of slaves, and the slaves, the only time they ever fought back was that one time where the plantation, workers finally got pissed, overtook the household. One white family and his sons, they killed them. They then danced and sang and beat drums and marched, because black people always know the words, all the dance moves. Went to the next plantation, took that one over, and then it's either on the way to the third one or on the way to the fourth one. Everything has to be in threes. They go around the bend, and suddenly there's the American military is standing there waiting for them. And instead of fighting or any sort of resistance, they went, oh, Lord and Lord, take me back to my massa. And they just gave up. And that's literally the only time the slaves ever revolted. You believe that? You believe black people were just basically willing slaves for hundreds of years? Right until the advent of the video camera, suddenly then they just stopped? You literally have no proof of slavery. They could show, oh, well, here's an old chain. That's the old chains they used to chain slaves with. Really? We know that, huh? The slavery narrative is dumb. It really is a stupid one. And of course, it's all white people are protected by the key fact in the slavery narrative that that it was actually a black African king that was selling the slaves. So slavery was perpetuated by a black man to begin with. And a black guy was the first slave owner here in the United States too. So you can't put that on any, like, it's so stupid. But it's all been to facilitate this narrative that's happening now. And we're rejecting it. You know? We're just rejecting it. Sorry, this shit doesn't make any sense. And it's the same thing as like, so the same people that tell you black people were just the willing slaves, Native Americans, when the white people invaded the Americas, they say there were as many as 100 million plus Native Americans throughout the Americas, North and South. 100 million plus. And then year after year, decade after decade, century after century, white people just kept making deals, reneging on the deals, pushing the natives further and further, and the natives just never said, you know what, fuck these people, we outnumber them, let's take them out. Because, white people had muskets and shit. Super inaccurate muskets that took fucking 10 minutes to reload. Yep, that makes the sense, doesn't it?
Oh, they had dogs. They had other weapons.
Are you serious? Do you not think the Native Americans probably had more dogs and more weapons and a better knowledge of the terrain? How many arrows do you think a skilled person could shoot as opposed to loading a musket and firing that one inaccurate shot?
I think they had a whole lot more humanity than the white ancestors that came here.
Oh, yep, that must be it. It was all that humanity. So again, deal after deal, renege after renege. Okay, you just got to move back a little bit more. Okay, you just got to move back a little bit more. Okay, you just got to move. And they were just like, okay, can we have some more beads? I know we don't believe in the ownership of land or anything, but if you give us some shiny beads, then we'll give you this land. You just don't realize how stupid it is until you really start questioning it. And the thing is, you're not supposed to question it. What you're supposed to do is regurgitate it. That's how you get the good grade. If you don't just regurgitate, if you ask questions, you're going to get the bad grade. Look at these comments. Look at how people can't argue what I'm saying, so they just start going with like goofy ass insults like it works. I appreciate you doing your dumb insult thing more than anything because it just shows I'm right. I'm right and you can't argue it. The only thing you can argue is, well, I was told this. Well, I was told that. You don't know if it's true. You just accept it for what it is. Like I've been saying lately, I want to see any of you prove that God isn't working through me. That God doesn't hate everything that's done in its name, hates all the religions, especially the one that calls itself the chosen people so it can murder people and rape kids. And that God, who isn't some dumb human who needs the credit, is remaining, beneath the fucking veil and just guiding my hand and guiding my mind. And, have you seen this? Sweetheart? Guiding my hand, guiding my mind, and the reason I say these things is because God wants me to. How can you prove that's not true? I would love to hear it. Oh, they're trying to get the Nintendo today? It was the Mega Drive yesterday. The Genesis for all you Americans. They call the Genesis the Mega Drive over in Europe. You know, for reasons. There's reasons why. What's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, how are you?
A region corresponding to the land of Israel in Judaism and central to Jewish history. Because, you know, they have a different history, right? That makes sense. Zionists wanted to create a Jewish state in Palestine with as much land, as many Jews, and as few Palestinian Arabs as possible. You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist. All you have to do is look up what Israel wants you to know. Israel controls Wikipedia. They want everything to be balanced and Zionist in nature. And it just so happens that when reading about Zionism on a page that's completely locked so nobody can edit it, it sure does paint Zionism with an ugly picture. Is an ugly picture, doesn't it? The Jewish people. They're not a people. They're a choice. It's a religion. It's a cult. Whenever somebody says, "Oh, I'm Jewish American," the fuck does that mean? Where is Jewish from? Especially when you're like, "I'm Jewish American," and like, man, you sure don't look very Semitic. You look pretty European to me. You look pretty Russian to me. Yeah, here we go, Team Jorge, because, you know, Team Jorge isn't something everybody should know about.
She waved at you.
I know, I waved at her. What's up? You want to fight about it? Team Jorge isn't something you should know about. Don't worry about Team Jorge, guys. It's literally only the Israeli bot farm, you know, one Israeli black ops organization that has 30,000, that can create 30,000 avatars at any given time to attack people that criticize Israel. No, that's nothing important. Zionism initially emerged in Central and Eastern Europe as a secular nationalist movement in the late 19th century in reaction to newer waves of anti-Semitism and in response to the Haskalah, or Jewish Enlightenment. Yeah, because that's what it is. That's the why, right? The why is because people just don't like their enlightenment. It has nothing to do with the horrible people they present themselves as. Bitch took my shit. The People's Popular Front of Judea. Jews aren't a race, you dumbass. You can't convert your race. I can't just start squinting my eyes and talking super stereotypically. Oh, look at me. I'm a Chinese now. And then you got to be like, oh, I guess he's Chinese. He converted. Doesn't work that way. You can't convert to a race, so I can think of at least 2 blacks offhand that converted to Judaism. So they were still black people. They didn't change their race. You can't change your race. But if you notice, this is what they have. This is all they have. If anything, how come at this point they're not shutting the fuck up and being like, yeah, man, read it. It's good. It's going to paint us in a good light. How come they're still trying to get me to stop talking about it? The arrival of Zionist settlers to Palestine during this period is widely seen as the start of the Israeli-Pakistani or Palestinian conflict. Funny too how like they'll call it the Palestinian-Israeli conflict like when it's something bad. But whenever it's like, for them, it's always Israel first. The Zionist claim to Palestine was based on the notion that Jews' historical right to the land outweighed that of the Arabs. Just again, think about that from the Native American perspective. Imagine if a Native American came up to you, to your house, and was like, hey, my ancestors lived here, so get the fuck out. No, we keep the house, we keep all your shit. You just gotta get out and don't say anything about it. If you say anything about it, you're racist. Like that's insane what's happening. Imagine if you could just go to a previous house that you lived in and say, hey, I lived here before you did, so you gotta get the fuck out. Historically, I have more right to this house than you do. That'd be a fantastic business plan, right? Go around and just stay in a house for a month or two, then rent it out or sell it to somebody, but come back a week after they buy it and be like, hey, I was here for a month, so I have more historical right to this house than you do. I got arrested. Yep. I got arrested. The only reason anybody ever knows I got arrested is because I said something. It's not like you would have known about it. But what I did was lie. I made up a story. And then, of course, I was out the next day. I've never even spent a whole night in jail, but I was arrested. And of course, let's just say I was arrested for something. Does that outweigh Zionism? Does that outweigh colonization and genocide and pedophilia and all this other shit? Does that outweigh that? Or are you just desperately trying to, come up with anything you can to stop the exposure of who you pieces of shit are? Because this isn't some American that's mad at me for talking about this. This isn't some non-pedo that's mad at me for talking about this. You're ridiculous, Karen. In 1917, the Balfour Declaration established Britain's support for the movement. No, it didn't. The Zionism thing goes way back, way before that. The British were trying to get Uganda to be the Jewish homeland in the late 1800s. They were going to give them that homeland until they could take over Palestine. But that would have required enslaving black people, and society had already started to get past enslaving black people, so they couldn't do it. Well, let's just see what it says. So I still will always say the world wars, both World War I and World War II, were about establishing Palestine, establishing Israel. World War I, based on the Balfour Declaration, which is really the Rothschild Declaration. They just didn't want to put the Rothschild name on it, which would have made it too obvious. So they put this Balfour guy's name on it. And then it was sent to the Rothschilds. And then the Rothschilds made it a thing. But they didn't do it. But you have the Balfour Declaration, then you have World War I, which then establishes British Mandate Palestine, which for the next 25, 30 years, 35 years, 1919 to 48. So yeah, 31 years, or 30 wait, it's somewhere 18, 19, something like that. So it's around 30 years, we'll say. 30 years of the Palestinians being completely reliant on the British. They didn't have to have a military because the British were there to protect them. They didn't have to have a government because the British ruled. And they were given really good, comfortable lives to make them as soft as possible. So that when they pulled off the World War II bullshit hoax, the Holo hoax, now they have the reason that for some reason, because of what supposedly happened in Germany, hundreds of miles, 1,000 miles away in Palestine, the Palestinians have to pay for what happened in Germany. And because the Palestinians didn't have a military, didn't have a government, didn't have a fucking clue, they were easily taken over. Because they're playing the long game. And it's coming out more and more. There's a movie called 6 Million Lies, if you can find it. Great film. There's actually 2 6 Million Lies that I've seen. One was recently made by some guy just reading the newspapers, but then there was another 6 Million Lies from years ago that was like 2.5 hours long. And it did talk about the newspapers and how as early as like 1918, and right around the same time as the Balfour Declaration, this idea of 6 million Jews being, in trouble, being killed, blah, blah, blah. Like all these different stories exist in all these different newspaper articles, specifically touting 6 million Jews are going to experience this, that, or the other. So they were seeding it. They were, seeding people's minds with this idea long before it actually happened. And of course, it didn't happen. There were only 3 million Jews in Europe, and most of them escaped to the United States, Russia, Ukraine. So the idea of 6 million is just preposterous to begin with. Along with their figures, like the World Census Report, that basically shows that prior to the war, it was around low 15 million. During the war, 15, 16, and after the war, 17 at the most. There is no 6 million lost. The Red Cross reports that Red Cross agents that were stationed all over the place at the time, nobody ever spoke about, millions and millions of them being killed. And there was a Jewish guy in the 90s that did a great job, exploring the supposed gas chambers and all these other things that just didn't hold up to scrutiny. None of it ever holds up to scrutiny. If it's real, it should be able to be questioned and still make sense. But that's the calling card of Judaism, right? You can't have Judaism without Exodus. And Exodus is a nothing narrative. It's just dumb. It doesn't. Exodus is as dumb as it gets. But the world wars, both World War I and World War II, were basically about Israel. There were other things that were that were done at the time. But the main goal was Israel each time. And when you understand that, it's hard to understand because for Goyim, we live in a much more immediate society. There's an immediate need for change. There's an immediate need for things to get better. There's an immediate need for the genocide to stop. There's immediate need for the pedophilia to stop. There's all this immediate sort of thing. With them, they already live the good free life. Free housing, free healthcare, free money, just free money. They can play the long game. If their generation doesn't see the ultimate goal, who cares? They lived an amazing life, full of persecution. And their generations will continue to live at the top of the fucking pyramid until they actually get what they want. Oh, look, big fat ass pedophile Kristen May. She took a break from hunting kids on the web to come here, and believe me, I'm not saying this lightly or jokingly. That's literally what's happening. This piece of shit is a pedophile. Absolute 100% pedophile. If somebody can kirk her, go ahead. She's an awful, awful human being. Instant gratification or bust. And of course, my feed is all fucked up. Explicitly privileged Jewish settlers over the local Palestinian population. In 1948, the state of Israel declared its independence, and the first Arab-Israeli war broke out. Well, you have to talk about Operation Cast Thy Bread, right? Because Operation Cast Thy Bread is the beginning of this. So first you have the partition, the Palestinian partition plan of 46, I believe, where they graciously offered the Palestinians to take 44% of their land and give the Israelis or the Jews 56% of the land. And that was their trade-off. That was their option. And when they didn't take it because they just don't want peace, they weren't willing to give up more than half of their land, so they don't want peace. Then they lost 80-some% of their land. But Operation Cast Thy Bread was how they began. So the first town to fall to the establishment of Israel was a town called Acre. And Acre is where they poisoned the drinking water system before they attacked, so that the population would have been weakened, sick, diarrhea, throwing up, some even dying from the sickness that was put on them, and they were easily taken over. The idea of poisoning the well, poisoning drinking water systems, this is a really, really common friar tactic. This is what they do. They don't fight fair. They're cowards. They know they can't win straight up competitions in anything. Have you guys seen the UN meetings with Pakistan and Algeria? The representatives calling out Israel. Oh, it's insane to see it. And you have to think, like, these Jews can't be so arrogant that they don't see what's happening, right? Isn't it weird how only people like Karen keep talking about how they get booted out? Gosh, that is strange. That is strange. If you're watching, don't forget to like, share, and sub. We're clearly being censored like a motherfucker here. So whether you like me or not, share this. And if you need to, take 2 seconds, click share, click it on Facebook. Right, this guy's crazy. Come tell him how he's crazy. Do whatever you can do to share it, but share it. And smash it. Smash the dislike button if you disagree with me. I can't believe this says this. Like, this is what's so fucking crazy, is that it's not something difficult to prove. The only difficult narrative to prove is the Israeli victim narrative. The Israeli good guy narrative. That's impossible to prove. Who poisons drinking water systems? You know, probably the same people that drop bombs from the most advanced fighter jets in the world on people with rocks and sticks and shit. In 1922, the Mandate for Palestine, governed by Britain, explicitly privileged Jewish settlers over the local Palestinian population. That is such a fucking insane thing to be able to read on Wikipedia. Not some secret page, not some Alex Jones, nothing like that. It's right here. Yes, I have a huge bald spot. I actually don't. That's the one thing that doesn't happen. I have this part's going bad, but there's actually no bald spot in the back. But even if that was the case, what would that matter? Because some fat fucking disgusting pedophile says I have a bald spot, that takes away from what's being said? Look at how desperate they are. If I'm wrong, why don't they just focus in on that? The misinformation that I'm spreading, why isn't that ever the focus? Look at how desperate these people are. That should be your cue. That should be your clue and your cue. If I'm wrong, they should just answer it. And trust me, none of these people are sitting on the end-all, be-all argument that could just destroy my whole narrative and make me look bad and all these other things. They could just completely wreck my perspective. They're just waiting for the right time. So instead, they're going to talk about some imaginary bald spot. It's just, this is better than them agreeing with me. This is better than having a page full of people that agree with me. Because you know that these people are opposing me. They disagree with me. They want me to stop what I'm doing, apparently. And yet, instead of actually addressing something real, this is the best that they can come up with. They can't come up with anything else. They can't come up with some reason why I'm wrong or they just can't. And it has to be frustrating for them. That we all know how arrogant they are. What arrogant supremacists they are. So to have this arrogant supremacist attitude, and yet you continue to look like fucking desperate fools, desperate friars, that has to be frustrating. In 1948, the state of Israel declared its independence. And the first Arab-Israeli war broke out because Israeli independence means the subjugation and colonization of Arabs who didn't want to give it up. Gee, what a weird, what assholes they are. During the war, Israel expanded its territory to control over 78% of mandatory Palestine. They were only going to get 56 point something, I don't remember. But now it's 78%. As a result of the 1948 Palestinian expulsion and flight, you mean the Nakba, May 15th, the Nakba, because again, you have to ask yourself, Israel didn't exist. So Israeli troopers, Israeli military couldn't have been the ones that did this. It had to be us doing it. It had to be the United States or Europe or Britain that was actually the ones that were expelling all of these people. Israel didn't exist. Where were all these Jews hiding that they were able to now pool together to form a military and a government and all this shit just boom, 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 it just happens. Obviously, it's much deeper than people realize. An estimated 160,000 to 870,000 Palestinians in the territory remained, forming a Palestinian minority in Israel. Between 160,000 and 870,000? Are you kidding me? That's a huge disparity. That's less than 250,000 as opposed to more than 750,000. And they just weren't sure? Zionist views have varied over time and are not uniform, resulting in a variety of types of Zionism. The Zionist mainstream has historically included liberal, labor, revisionist, and cultural Zionism, while groups like Brit Shalom and Ehud have been dissident factions within the movement. You know what I'm so sick of hearing? Again, from the truther side of things that is seemingly so dominated by Christianity for some fucked up reason. I just can't get over this. Why don't truthers have the same, scrutiny for Christianity that they do for everything else. It just doesn't make any sense. Because it doesn't take very long, it's not very hard to look into Christianity and see how it's all Jewish control scheme bullshit. It's really strange. Right? Religious Zionism is a variant of Zionist ideology that brings together secular nationalism and religious conservatism, supremacy. Advocates of Zionism have viewed it as a national liberation movement for the reparation of an indigenous people who were subject to persecution and to share a national identity through national consciousness. Literally just making up fucking terms to fit their narrative. Because there's no historical proof of any of it. Hebrew was invented in the late 1800s, early 1900s. It's not the ancient language that you're told it is. National consciousness to the homeland of their ancestors. Opponents of Zionism often characterize it as a supremacist, colonist, or racist ideology, or as a settler colonist movement, for no reason whatsoever. Opponents just say that because they don't have anything else to say, so they just say these crazy things. There's no history behind it, there's no evidence, nothing. It's just people are just mean. Zion, or Mount Zion, is a hill in Jerusalem and a term used in the Hebrew Bible. It has been used poetically as a syncnedoche. Synecdoche, syncnedoche, I don't know, to refer to the land of Israel since the period of the Babylonian exile, with particular importance in Jewish messianic belief. Babylonian exile, the Exodus, that does not stand up to history. The first time the term Zion was associated with a mass movement was as the Hovivi Zion, lovers of Zion, also known as the Hibat Zion, love of Zion, came together in the 1884 Katowice Conference, inspired by Leon Pinkster's pamphlet, Auto-Emancipation. I love when this sort of narrative is the historical narrative. So because of a pamphlet, what was the printing process like back in 1884? What was the pamphlet distribution network like in 1884 that they could just send these pamphlets all over the world? See, this is where I always have a hard time because I want to look into these things. I guess I have to. Auto-Emancipation, a pamphlet written in German by Russian-Polish Jewish doctor and activist Leon Pinkster in 1882. It is considered a founding document of modern Jewish nationalism, especially Zionism. Pinkster discussed the origins of anti-Semitism and argued for Jewish self-rule and the development of a Jewish national consciousness. He wrote that Jews would never be the social equals of non-Jews until they had a state of their own. What the fuck? He called on Jewish leaders to convene and address the problem. In the pamphlet, he describes anti-Jewish attacks as a psychosis, a pathological disorder, and an irrational phobia. See, it's never changed. It's always the same thing. It's a psychosis. It's a mental illness for you not to accept that these people are born superior to you. These people that hate you and think that you are one of their slaves, how dare you not accept that? You must have mental problems. Pinster had originally been an auto-assimilation, or had been an assimilationist, calling for greater respect of human rights for Jews in Russia. However, following massive anti-Jewish riots in Tsarist Russia in 1881, and a visit to Western Europe in the first half of 1882, his views changed. So again, we're forced to understand or accept that in the 1880s, traveling from Russia to Europe to the United States to Africa to all, this was no big deal. They were just doing this. And the whole concept of airships, well, you know, it's the only way any of this travel is possible, but that wasn't the thing. There weren't airships everywhere. So how was all this facilitated? Just jumping on trains? Just jumping on trains. They were just digging canals and all these other things that they were just so capable of doing back then. That year, he published the essay anonymously in German. Oh, that's amazing. Almost like this thing was you know, this identity was added to this thing after the fact. Pinster's new perspective also led to his involvement in the development of the Jewish nationalist group Hovivi Zion, which he chaired. The essay itself inspired the group and Jews throughout Europe and was a landmark in the development of Zionism and the Jewish state. The pamphlet was published in September of 1882. In 1885, Nathan Brinbaum adopted for his periodical the title Selbst Emancipation, derived from Pinster's titles. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Quotes from the book. Indeed, what a pitiful figure we cut. We are not counted among the nations, neither have we a voice in their councils, even when the affairs concern us. Right, because, you know, Jews haven't been completely favored and capitulated to forever. Nope, they were just ignored, just like now. They're just ignored in the rise of anti-Semitism. Like, it's really fucking crazy, man. Our fatherland, the other man's country, our unity, desperation, our solidarity, the battle against us, our weapon, humility, our defense, flight, our individuality, adaptability, our future, the next day. What a miserable role for a nation which descends from the Maccabees. Oh, there we go. Oh, the Maccabees, whose whole thing was circumcision. I mean, seriously, do you think I could do this, like, purposefully? Do you think I could just purposefully happen to connect all these dots by randomly reading things? Hanukkah is the celebration of circumcision. The Maccabee move, the Maccabee revolt, which was inspired by not being allowed to circumcise. Like, you guys, it's right here. I couldn't fucking make this up any better. The great ideas of the 18th and 19th century were not passed by our people without leaving a mark. We feel not only as Jews, we feel as men. As men, we, too, wish to live like other men and be a nation like the others. What other nations are they talking about? I mean, it's just fucking silly. And the fact that they weren't physically capable of taking a place, especially not, like, presenting their beliefs and it being so good that it's just adopted and people are like, hey, let's make this because these people are so good. And instead it had to be done through military campaigns and all this other shit. Like, that's so fucked up. We must not attach ourselves to the place where our political life was once violently interrupted and destroyed. The goal of our present endeavors must be not be the Holy Land, but a land of our own. We need nothing but a large piece of land for our poor brothers, a piece of land which shall remain our property, from which no foreign master can expel us. Thither we shall take with us the most sacred possessions which we have saved from the shipwreck of our former fatherland. Isn't that weird how they call them the whole fatherland thing? It sure does sound familiar. I can't remember where I've heard that terminology before. From the shipwreck of our former fatherland, the God idea and the Bible. We shall take with us the most sacred possessions which we have saved from the shipwreck of our former fatherland, the God idea, God-idea, and the Bible. The God idea. Flat out right there, that's them telling you that the God idea was created for you. It is only these which have made our fatherland the Holy Land, and not Jerusalem or Jordan. Perhaps the Holy Land will again become ours. If so, all the better. But first of all, we must determine, and this is a crucial point, what country is accessible to us, and at the same time, adapted to offer the Jews of all lands who must leave their homes a secure and unquestioned refuge, capable of being made productive. And that's literally it. This is the pamphlet that led to the foundation of Zionism, which has led to genocide and just insanity from it. And that's literally all I get. That's pretty fucking wild, man. Here we go. Here's Leon Pinkster. Of course. We've got one of these guys. Leon Pinkster, or Judah Lieb Pinkster. Gee, that's weird. Again, with the name change. Always making their names more Semitic sounding. Isn't that funny how they always do that? Born December 25th, 1821. Died December 21st, 1891. Was a physician and a Zionist activist. I wonder where he went to physician school. Earlier in life, he had originally supported the cultural assimilation of Jews in the Russian Empire. He was born in the town of Tomazo Lubilski in the southeastern border region of the Kingdom of Poland, and educated in Odessa, where he studied law, but was unable to practice because of restrictions on occupations available to Jews. So he just became a physician instead. He studied law, wasn't allowed, because, again, I love this narrative that Jews weren't allowed to practice the things that they apparently dominate. There was at some point there was this change that isn't really documented, but they were forbidden to practice law. They were forbidden to practice banking. They were forbidden to practice healthcare, medicine. And then suddenly it just sort of changes, and they make up all of them. Isn't this fucking crazy? And nothing could make this shit more poignant than the comment section. Look at what's coming, right? Look what's coming my way in opposition of what I'm saying. Literally nothing. Nothing. It's just crybaby distraction bullshit trying to get you to look at something else, trying to get you to think about something else, trying to get you to call me crazy. Pinkster was a supporter of equal rights under the law for Jews. Not equal rights for everyone, but equal rights for Jews. Get out of here. But his optimism was curtailed after the Odessa pogroms. Oh, more pogroms. Bum, 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 bum. Always have these same fucking Holocaust type narratives. In response to the pogroms of 1871 and 1881, Pinkster founded the Zionist organization Hebat Zion in 1881. Political disagreements between religious and secular factions of the Odessa Committee and Ottoman restriction on Jewish immigration prevented Pinkster from resettling, and he died in Odessa in 1891. His remains were brought to Jerusalem in 1934. Ew! Just think about how gross that is. Some 40 fucking 3 years later, they dig up his remains and take him to Jerusalem. What kind of insanity are we talking about here? Yeah, the Holocaust, totally fake. I mean, obviously something happened, but definitely not the 6 million, cry, cry, cry. It's not even the worst story. It's not even the worst story of the time. Stalin and the Bolshevik Jews killed between 50 and 60 million Christians around the same time and afterward. But around the same time, you had King Leopold of is it the Netherlands? King Leopold of Belgium, the Belgian king, killing around 50 million Africans. Mao supposedly killed 100 million of his own people. But we don't hear about those stories. It's the fake idea of 6 million that is, oh, that's the worst one. They dug up his remains 43 years later and took them to Jerusalem. 1934. You know, because 1934 technology was the top of the fucking pops, man. Gotta love all that late 1800s, early 1900s tech that doesn't seem to exist anymore. Leon or Yehuda Lieb, Leon Yehuda Lieb, Pinkster, inherited a strong sense of Jewish identity from his father, Simcha Pinkster, a Hebrew language writer. But Hebrew language didn't exist yet. It was revised by Eliezer ben Yehuda. And the first Hebrew dictionary wasn't until at least 1903. So how the fuck would he be a Hebrew language writer? And what does a Hebrew language writer even do? We're talking about back in the 1800s. So how could you live? How could you support a family? How could you have a house? How could you have food being a Hebrew language writer in a time and a place where you were so oppressed? It just doesn't make sense. And the fact is, anybody that's on here that's not addressing what's being said, they're obviously Jews. They're obviously Israeli. They're obviously bots who are trying their best to obfuscate and change the subject and distract and do all that. Because anybody in their right mind would just be like, wow, you know what? That actually doesn't make any sense. How could that be the case if the other shit was the case? Which narrative is the true narrative? Because it seems like all of their narratives just contradict each other because they were just putting them out there. You know, he was a Hebrew language writer who was able to send his kid to law school. And then when he wasn't allowed to practice law, of course, he became a physician instead. Are we serious right now? Belgium, yeah, King of Belgium. Leon attended his father's private school in Odessa and was one of the first Jews to attend Odessa University, where he studied law. Oh, isn't that amazing? His father had a private school now. Later, he realized that, being a Jew, he had no chance of becoming a lawyer. That is such a silly phrase, a silly statement. Of becoming a lawyer due to strict quotas on Jewish professionals, and chose the career of a physician because that's just what you do. You know, you just do that. Participants of the Katowice Conference, 1884, in the center of the front row, Rabbi Samuel Molhever and Leon Pinkster. So here you go. Here's one of these things, and what we're going to find out, because I'm going to read about this in a second. So we have this picture from 1884 of supposedly all these Jewish leaders that had gotten together for one of their at the Katowice conference, which is going to mean that we'll just cross that bridge when we get there. Pinkster believed that Jewish problem could be resolved if the Jews attained equal rights because they were so oppressed. In his early years, Pinkster favored the assimilation path and was one of the founders of a Russian language Jewish weekly. The Odessa pogrom of 1871 moved Pinkster to become an active public figure. In 1881, a bigger wave of anti-Jewish hostilities, many state-sponsored, swept southern Russia and continued until 1884. Are we ever going to find out why? You think anybody will ever tell us why? I doubt it. They can't even tell us why they're here. Why they're so obsessed with me, let alone answer any of this shit. Then Pinkster's views changed radically, and he no longer believed that mere humanism and enlightenment would defeat anti-Semitism. And remember, anti-Semitism, well, I mean, so 1880s, I guess. That was when anti-Semitism was first coined. And considering Semitism means policy or predisposition favorable to Jews, anti-Semitism is simply the opposite. Not believing that they are special and they get special treatment. And so whenever you hear this idea of rising anti-Semitism, it's all they're saying the truth. They're saying that the Goyim aren't just being dumb, quiet, complacent Goyim and doing what they're supposed to do. They might be saying something that the Jews don't like, or that they're not supposed to, or doing something. And because they're going against policy and predisposition favorable to Jews, it becomes anti-Semitism. Then, in 1884, he organized the International Conference of Habit Zion in Katowice, former Kingdom of Prussia. As a professional physician, Pinkston preferred the medical term Judophobia to the recently introduced anti-Semitism. Right. But anti-Semitism couldn't be, or Judophobia can't be manipulated as well as anti-Semitism. And it's too obvious. Pinkston knew that a combination of mutually exclusive assertions and a characteristic of a physiological, or psychological disorder, wait, ex, com, knew that a combination of mutually exclusive assertions and a characteristic of a psychological disorder, and was convinced that pathological irrational phobia may explain the millennia-old hatred. Because it has nothing to do with them. As a matter of fact, they're the exact opposite of what everybody says about them. And for some reason, everybody just believes the exact same things throughout the millennia. Right? Blood libel, you know, well poisoning, all that stuff. It's just make believe. To the living, the Jew is a corpse. Oh my God. That's the first thing that's said. Talk about irrational phobias, pathological and psychological disorder. To the living, the Jew is a corpse. What a fucking dumb thing to say. To the native, a foreigner. To the homesteader, a vagrant. To the proprietor, or to the proprietary, a beggar. To the poor, an exploiter and a millionaire. To the patriot, a man without a country. For all, a hated rival. Again, notice how there is no why. Why don't people like them? If they're so good, if they're so nice, they're so helpful, they're so sharing, they're so loving, they're such good guys, why does everyone hate them so much? His visit to Western Europe, because, just visiting, led to his famous pamphlet, Auto-Emancipation, which, again, I just read it to you. It's nothing. It's fucking nothing. It just said, well, we should have more. Nobody likes us. We're good. And for some reason, this pamphlet was distributed all over Europe and inspired people to, instead of saying, hey, let's work together with these people and become, one nation together. No, we need our own place and we're better than and we're supreme and we deserve, all of that comes from one stupid little pamphlet that doesn't even make any sense and doesn't say anything. Are you kidding me? God damn it, this thing's unplugged. His visit to Western Europe led to his famous pamphlet, Auto-Emancipation, subtitled Manruf a blah, 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 warning to his fellow people from a Russian Jew, which he published anonymously in German on January 1st, 1882. What? He published it anonymously on the 1st of January, 1882. Where? When? How did this get published? He just published it in German. In what? What was the periodical? What was the vehicle that you could just publish something that would go everywhere anonymously in 1882? Just think about that. Oh, schizo. Yep, we got schizos. Schizos. It's always mental disorders, phobias, psychological disturbed, all this, it's the same shit. How is it possible that here we are 150 years later and they still have the same arguments? Oh, you're schizo. You need your meds. You need help. You need help. You need help. I do. I need help understanding this. Explain it to me in a way that makes sense so it doesn't sound like you guys are the worst of the fucking worst. I would love to hear a better explanation than what I give. Belch. You need to leave. Where do I need to go? This is my country. I'm trying to give you what you want. I think we should give the Jews Israel. Kick you all the fuck out. Make you all go to... When I win the presidency in 2028, one of my first orders of business will be to outlaw the pedophile cult. And get you guys the fuck out of here. Give you what you want. Outlaw the cult and make it all illegal. It's illegal to partake in the cult. That's my goal. Give you what you want. Your supremacy. Your Jewish state. And the thing is, at that point, you don't need us anymore. That's the cutoff. No more money coming your way. Who's opposed to that? I'd love to know. I'd love to know who opposes that. And I'll ask you why, but we both know you won't say anything because you're dumb. Published it on January 1st, 1882 anonymously, and in which he urged the Jewish people to strive for independence and national consciousness. Oh, yes. These poor people, these poor oppressed people. Stamps with inscribed portraits, including Leon Pinksor, 1916, in the collection of the Jewish Museum in Switzerland. So oppressed, they just had their own stamps and shit, right? In his 1882 pamphlet, Auto-Emancipation, Pinksor argued against Palestine as the destination for a Jewish Commonwealth. We already read this shit. But it did lay out, it ended with... Hang on a second. Are you seriously barking at the garbage man, you moron? Oh shit, that's what I need. This is fucking crazy, right? This is just crazy. It shouldn't be this obvious. I should have a much more difficult time proving exactly what I'm saying. And instead, it's like, I'm reading what they want you to read. Prove it's anything other than what I'm saying it is, what they're saying it is. This is the blueprint for supremacy. So remember, he was saying about the Holy Land, not Jerusalem or Jordan. Perhaps the Holy Land will again become ours. Remember that bit? There's more to it, though. It says, if so, all the better. But first of all, we must determine, and this is the crucial point, which country is accept. Oh, we already did read this, yeah. Despite being urged several times to amend his essay to say that Palestine was the only acceptable Jewish refuge, Pinkster refused, even writing in his will that he had not retracted his opinion. Before his death, he reportedly said, "Since the Holy Land cannot be a physical center, except for very few of our Jewish brethren, it would be far better for us to divide the work of national revival into two, with Palestine as our national spiritual center and Argentina as our cultural physical center." Gee, that's weird. Good morning. Nevertheless, Pinkster became one of the founders and chairman of the Hovivi Zion movement. As part of the movement, he focused on supporting settlements that already existed and helping them achieve self-sufficiency before organizing any further migration and the establishment of new settlements. Younger activists such as Menachem Mendel Yeshayakin actively opposed his approach, urging an acceleration of the pace of settlement. Fuck, man. This is also goddamn scary. So that's the guy. That's basically it. Or all I cared to read. I mean, I could have read about his death and legacy and Zionist agricultural settlement. Forgot. In the 1890s, the Russian authorities approved the establishment of the Society for the Support of Jewish Farmers and Artisans in Syria and Palestine, dedicated to the practical aspects of establishing Jewish agricultural colonies there. Pinkster headed this charity organization known as the Odessa Committee. Disagreements between various Jewish religious and secular factions, and internal movement crisis, and the ban by the Ottoman Empire on Jewish immigration in the 1890s caused Pinkster to doubt whether Eretz Israel would ever become a solution. Fucking ridiculous, man. It's just fucking ridiculous. So I'm going to look up this Katowice conference. Katowice conference? Katowice, I guess. Or Katowice, I don't know how you say it. Katowice. Also known as the Katowice Conference, was a convention of Hovivi Zion groups from various countries held in Katowice, Germany, today Katowice, Poland, in November of 1884. See, these I love these fucking narratives, right? Because basically you have to think, okay, so it's 1884, November of 1884, in Poland, where it's probably been snowing. So you think, okay, so these guys are all from different countries, right? Right? Different countries. So the invitation went out somehow. The printing press printed up the invitations and all that shit. Printing press sent out these letters to all these different activists all over these multiple countries. Oh, somebody was peeing. Gotta bust them. Gotta ruin their life over peeing. Oh, shit. Busting some chick for peeing behind the cars at a place. Because, you know, some kid could have seen her. Looks like they shut off my comments. Funny how that works. Speaking of which, you know what? I'm gonna just call it. If the comments are getting shut off, I might as well just call it anyway. So I'll do this tomorrow. We'll look into this Katowice conference. We're gonna get to the bottom of this disgusting cult, this Zionism bullshit. We'll get there. So You'll see in the description a link to the website. www.the-bilderberg-group.com. It's free to download, free to listen to. Best music you haven't heard before unless you've been here. A link to, it's free, just when it asks you how much you want to pay, just click 0 and it's free. There's going to be a link to Hollywoodism, the greatest film ever made, that explains literally all this in a different kind of context. It explains why this is our history, why this is how it's presented to us. That they used Hollywood to control the narrative. And as one of the descendants of one of the Hollywood moguls says in the movie, essentially you could say the American dream is the Jewish dream. Right? So go watch them, go get the free download, go watch the movie, go read the article, Israel Hayom article, Bottom of Darkness, which will kick you out over and over again. You actually have to work to read it. They make an article hard to read because that makes sense, right? Just like my comment section getting shut off, so I can't see what you guys are saying. Makes sense, doesn't it? That's what happens when you watch YouTube. You've seen this happen on multiple people's profiles where suddenly the comment section just gets shut off from their perspective. You guys have seen that before, right? Come on. They're not going to provide you with some news flash. Guy Williams is right. Nobody watch him. Stay away. You have to look at what they actually do. And something like the Israel Hayom article that exists, but they make it difficult to read. You have to question what that's about. Why would any website make it difficult for you to read one of their articles by kicking you off and all that shit? If you have a website, you make it as easy for people with their 15-second attention spans, as easy as possible for them. And yet, the Israel Hayom article is not that way. Go check out the 3 links to the music videos for Donald Trump Hates America, COVID Sauce, and Sleight of Hand Job. And have yourself a great day. Most importantly, though, as always, the most important thing I ever say, and I beg this of you every single time, right? You Matitza Bapay, you pedophiles in general, but especially Matitza Bapay pedophiles, kill yourself.